What's up? Okay. Okay, this is weird. It's getting weird. That's enough. Okay. Okay, let's get started. Let's go. Hi, everybody. If we haven't met, I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Shawnté, if you haven't heard already. I would love to know your name, so on the count of three, can you introduce yourself to me? Just like scream it out. Ready? 1, 2, 3. What's your name? It is so nice to meet you. Let's go grab coffee. I'm poor. Can you pay? I would love to just tell you a couple of things about me. The last time I was on the stage, I think it was like February of 2020, so like Valentine's Day, and I got to talk about singleness. And it was so funny because I said out loud, hey guys, I'm 37 or whatever and single. I'm looking for someone to help me out. And nobody helped me out, and I'm really upset. So now I'm proud to say I'm 38 and still single, and I'm okay with that. But a lot of times, I really need like a second income though, so it'd be nice to maybe get married. But a lot of times when people stand up here, they talk about their families and their kids, and they show a picture. I want to show you my child. This is my child here. His name is Theo. He's a miniature golden doodle. Don't tell Sean C. or any of the leadership team, but this picture was taken in the lobby. I do bring my dog here quite often, but he's a good boy. He's so cute. So that's Theo. I wanted to introduce y'all. My goal is to make Theo an influencer on Instagram, so if you can find him and follow him, that'd be really funny. But it is my honor to be up here. I get to close out this series that we're in called Affirmations, and I'm really excited to talk about this really exciting subject. But before I talk about that, I'm going to recap a little of the last 3 college nights. So the first one, if you weren't here, Josh talked about something really exciting called loneliness, and but I was really, really excited about his talk because he basically said, hey, if you have Jesus in your heart, then you're not really truly lonely. And in those moments of loneliness, that's a great opportunity to just kind of lean into your relationship with the Lord. So that was really great. Week 2, we had Allie here, and she dropped the word on comparison. I was actually sitting right back there comparing myself to her because I knew I had to be up here in a few weeks after her. And I was like, oh my gosh, she's so much better. And in that moment, she said, it's funny because sometimes I sit in a room and I compare myself to people who are speaking on stage, and she said she's not like them. And I was like, oh, I should probably listen to whatever she has to say right now. But basically, her bottom line was that we need to run the race that the Lord has set out for us as individuals and not really pay attention to anybody else's race, but focus on our own. So that was really cool. And then last college night, Josh really challenged us in a message on temptation and how we all kind of experience temptation in our lives. And even Jesus experienced temptation, but he gave us some really practical ways to kind of tackle that. Tonight, I'm going to talk about something that's really near and dear to my heart, and I'll share a little bit of my story tonight, but we are going to be talking about anxiety. And like Josh said, I know that none of y'all actually experience that, so I actually don't know why I'm up here, but I know that I'm going to be talking to 3 different people tonight. And the first one is that person who says, I don't experience anxiety, and they look really confident when they say it, but really you're like, what? Okay, cool. But for that person, what I want you to take away is I want you to start to recognize when people around you are experiencing anxiety and kind of know where to guide them in that. And then there's a second person that I want to talk to, and that's the person who kind of experiences situational anxiety. And that's a lot of us in this room. I really do think it's everybody. So it's like you have a test coming up and you get really anxious, or you are thinking about asking this guy or girl out on a date and you're like, oh gosh, I can't do this. Or you have to go home for the holidays, and who wants to actually do? Some of us do. I never wanted to go home on the holidays. It made me really anxious because my family is really crazy and I never could figure out how to fix them. And so I would make all of the excuses not to go home for Thanksgiving and Christmas. But my sweet mother would cry, so then I would just go home. But anyways, so there are these situations that we find ourselves in that cause this anxiety to rise up in our hearts. And so I want to talk to you people. And then there's like the third category, which I think I closely identify with. And those are the people who you feel like, anxiety, like you carry it with you so closely, you put it in your back pocket. It's like something that's always there. You feel like you're in this like deep pit of anxiety all day, every day, and that's what you wake up with and what you go to bed with. That's me. Like I identify very closely with that. Because no matter which category you find yourself in or you like decide to put yourself in, I feel like the Lord has something for everybody here tonight. And I'm going to put this out there like right away. Y'all, I am an internal processor. The fact that I said this morning, the fact that Josh thought that I can get up here and talk for like 30 minutes surprises me. But y'all, I am so thankful to just be able to share a little piece of what the Lord has for us tonight. So let's get started. I love clarity, and I think that defining things brings clarity. So let's define anxiety. This is from our good friend on the internet, Merriam-Webster. These are like three different, I just like broke it down because it was like a paragraph. But anxiety is apprehensive uneasiness or nervousness. It can be mentally distressing concern or interest, or a strong desire sometimes mixed with doubt, fear, and uneasiness. And so I'm going to go ahead and give you my bottom line right now, so just in case you like have to go to the bathroom and miss it at the end. My bottom line is this, that anxiety happens, but how we respond matters. Anxiety happens, and how we respond matters. I like to call my anxiety moments Red Sea moments. And let me give you the definition of my Red Sea moment. It is simply this. That isn't going to pop up on the screen. There we are. It's this: when you're standing between the impossible and the overwhelming. If you're not familiar with the Red Sea story in the Bible, let's like paint a picture, right? There are some really good movies like the Ten Commandments. That's a really old one that y'all probably will never watch. But there's a really great one. It's a cartoon. It's called The Prince of Egypt. It's one of my favorite movies. There's a really great soundtrack that Whitney Houston is in, and it's like, oh my gosh, this is beautiful. Is this what it looked like? I was going to start singing in that moment, but I decided not to. But let me paint a picture. You have this nation of people called the Israelites, who were essentially slaves by the Egyptians. There was this big bad guy called Pharaoh, who was like terrible. And then you have this character called Moses, who's like the let my people go guy. Are y'all tracking with me? And so finally, after all of these crazy plagues that I could really talk, my small group knows this, I could talk like about the plagues, and that's weird. You mean there were like frogs everywhere and the locusts everywhere? I could talk for hours on this, but I won't do that tonight. But there is this moment when Pharaoh decides to let the people go. And so Moses and the nation of Israel start to leave Egypt. And as they're leaving, Pharaoh decides, wait, I don't want to actually let the people go. So he sends his army after them. So you have this nation of people, and I could also talk a lot about this because I think when we picture it in our minds, when we read it, we think it's like 10 people, but it's like a nation of people with their animals and like the old people and the babies. It's all of these people just traveling, and they run up against the Red Sea. And so behind them, they see Pharaoh and his army, and in front of them, they see the Red Sea. And that is the moment, can we go back to the last, it's right here. That is the moment when they are standing between the impossible and the overwhelming. And I identify with this so closely because almost every moment of my life feels like that. And I want to talk about how the Israelites responded in this moment. They said things like this: why did you bring us out here to die in the wilderness? Weren't there enough graves in Egypt? What have you done to us? They're like yelling at Moses. They say things like, why did you make us leave Egypt? It is better to be a slave in Egypt than a corpse in the wilderness. I like this last one because this is my story right here. I have been in these moments of anxiety that have pushed me into moments of depression. Like to where I'm standing in a room or sitting in a room by myself and I cry out to God, it is better for me to be dead than to be alive. A couple of years ago, I Like, I have always dealt with anxiety. And what I did with my anxiety is I took it and I held it really closely to my heart, and I would like put it in the recesses of my mind and just like pack it in a trunk and put chains around it and not really deal with anything. I would just be like, I feel anxious, I feel anxious. But then a couple of years ago, all of this anxiety started to ooze out of my body in like really unhealthy ways. So a couple of years ago, I was still working here at Athens Church, and I would come to work and I would be really happy and like doing all the things, running around like a chicken with my head cut off, because that is the only thing that I knew how to do. And there were only probably a couple of people who knew that I dealt with things like anxiety and panic attacks. And one day I remember sitting in my room, and it just felt so impossible and so overwhelming that I wrote all of these things down in 4 different letters to 4 different people. One was my best friend, one was my mother, one was like everybody else in my life, like to whom it may concern type letter. And then one was to my father. And in these letters, I wrote down everything that has ever made me anxious. And I want to say at the end of every letter, I said, I just can't do this anymore. And that was my Red Sea moment, when I felt pushed up against something that was really impossible, which was life. And I felt like the overwhelmingness of everything that was happening. The story is really cool. There is this verse that's really tiny in the middle of the Red Sea story. And it says this, I think I have this on the slide. And you'll miss this if you read the story really quickly. But this is what jumped out at me. It said, then the Lord said to Moses, why are you crying out to me? Tell the people to get moving. And it hit me in that moment that the Lord could have removed every single obstacle for the Israelites. He could have like wiped out the Egyptian army. He could have like even not had them be slaves. Let's be real. And the Lord could have quickly like dried up the Red Sea to where it wasn't even there when they walked up to it. But instead of removing all of these obstacles, what the Lord did was he made a way through it. And I think a lot of times in my life, or in our lives, it's hard for us to see that way through, right? It's hard for us to look past our circumstances and to see something on the other side of it. But I wasn't going to say this now, but I just want to say to the person in the room where you feel like there's no hope and you're like caught up against the sea and there's like a Pharaoh and an army behind you and something impossible in front of you, I just want to say like there is hope. Like there's always a way through. But what you have to do is you have to just get moving, right? And so what does that look like? I think that a lot of times when I hear sermons or teachings on anxiety, all pastors kind of preach on the same verse. So I'm going to preach on that same verse. So this is a verse. It's found in Philippians 4, and I just want to give us some practical ways to like get moving. Let's get moving. This is what Philippians 4, verse 6 says. It says, do not worry about anything. In every single sermon, maybe they don't do this and maybe this is just what I hear, but I feel like this is what I hear, and then they're like, okay, bye, have fun. Don't worry, I'll see you later, come back next Sunday. But there's a cool thing in this, this little symbol here. It's not a period, it's a semicolon. And I looked up like the meaning of semicolons because I love clarity and I love definitions, but I don't have the definition on the screen. But basically, semicolon like connects 2 thoughts together. It kind of says, hey, there's more after this. And so there's more after this. Let's read through Philippians 4, 6 through 9. It says, don't worry about anything. Instead, pray about everything. Tell God what you need and thank him for all he has done. Then you will experience God's peace, which exceeds anything we can ever understand. It says this peace will guard your hearts and minds as you live in Christ Jesus. And now, dear brothers and sisters, one final thing, and that's to fix your thoughts on what is true and honorable and right and pure and lovely and admirable. Think about these things that are excellent and worthy of praise, and keep putting into practice all that you've learned and received from me and everything you've heard from me and saw me doing. Then the God of peace will be with you. I love this verse, and I just kind of want to unpack it. There are kind of 3 action steps I wanted to talk to y'all about and just kind of to break this passage of scripture down. There's 3 things that we learn here. We learn to pray, to be thankful, and to change your thoughts. I want to talk a little bit about this prayer part. I think that most of us would say we know how to pray, but I think what we get caught up with is that we don't know how to pray honestly. Like we take these prayers to God that are wrapped in these beautiful Christmas packages, and we're like, hey God, thank you so much. I'm so thankful for everything. You're so good. Nothing's wrong in my life. I do want a boyfriend though, so if you think about it. I have this test tomorrow, if you think about it. My mom's weird. Just if you think about it. We take these prayers and we're like, okay, thanks. And then we give it to him in the bow and it's all happy. But then we go to our friends and we're like, oh my gosh, do you know what's happening in my life? And we lay all of these things out to them. What would happen if we actually do that to the Lord? If we say, this is what's happening in my life. I feel like I'm in a pit and I can't get out. I need you to help me. I mean, are you there? If we say things like that, because that's how I pray. God, are you there? And then the next one is be thankful. I'm going to kind of lump these last 2 together and change your thoughts. It is so difficult to be thankful when you feel like your world is crashing down, right? It's just hard. You're like, scripture says be thankful. How do I do that? I'm thankful for Theo. Theo's great, my dog. And then it's really hard at the same time to change your thoughts when you're in these moments. I don't know if any of y'all were at church a couple of weeks ago, 2 Sundays ago. Clay basically preached the same thing, and I was like, oh gosh. But I don't think any of y'all were here. So I want you to go back and listen to that because it was really great. But he talked a lot about how we need to change the way that we're thinking. And so these 2 things are really hard to do by yourself. And so I'm going to give you a little tip that I've learned over the past 2 years of my life is that when you are having trouble being thankful in your circumstance and when you're having difficulty changing the way you think, then you need to bring some people in. And not just anybody, not your friend who you tell everything to, but they kind of just respond in the way that you want them to respond. But you need to bring people in who are truth tellers. I have these 4 amazing women in my life. I jokingly say this is the worst decision I've ever made in my life to bring them into my mess, but it is absolutely the best decision I've made. Because I feel like with these women, I bring my whole self, not just the self that I want to look good or I want them to think I'm a good person, but my whole self. And y'all, honestly, these things are not things that I am an expert in by any means. 2 weeks ago, I was probably on my floor crying. I remember meeting with these women and telling them where I was at and just getting angry at their responses. They are telling me all the things I need to hear, all of the truth. And I'm just but I want to wallow in my mess. And I want to hold on to this anxiety because I feel like I know the best thing to do. But these women, I think, really would kick down my door to tell me truth. So I want y'all to think about the people in your life. Think about who are the truth tellers in my life who can show me how to be thankful no matter the circumstance that I'm going through. And who can help me change my thoughts, who can take these really negative things that I'm holding so tightly onto and who can tell me what the Lord really thinks of me and how he sees me navigating through any situation. So those are the 3 things that I wanted to talk about. I'm sorry I'm looking at my iPad. I just want to make sure I'm not missing anything. So bring in your community. The other thing I wanted to talk to y'all about is counseling. We don't talk a whole lot about it in a church atmosphere. I feel like in 2020 and 2021, everybody's BetterHelp. Have you seen all the BetterHelp commercials? I laugh at them. I'm just you're right. People I need a counselor, but it's so true. It's so true. There is something about sitting in a room with someone that you're paying probably, and that's okay. But there is something about sitting in a room with someone and really bringing your whole self. It is the most uncomfortable thing that I do every month but it is the best thing that I do. My counselor is amazing. The first time I was there, I said, friend, listen, I hate counseling, and I think that you're just going to tell me things I already know. And I'm paying you a lot of money. So I need you to just fix the things. And she was like, well, how does that make you feel? And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is going to be terrible. But it is so cool to sit with someone and talk about things that you probably have gone through in your life that you had no control over. And it is refreshing, and it is like a weight being lifted when they unpack what is probably trauma in your life, and they show you how those things are affecting your current circumstance, and they help you navigate through those things. So if you don't hear one thing that I say tonight, I need you to hear me say that counseling works when you find like the right counselor. And I was talking to my counselor about tonight. And I said, what do I need to tell college students? Because I think they're like me, and I never wanted to put in the work to find a counselor. And she's like, say that. There is no excuse, y'all, to not put in the work to find someone who will help you navigate through your life. My friend says this a lot. She says that, this is so unscripted, she says that pretend that you have stage 4 cancer. You would do everything in your power to get healthy. And so if you're one of those people who deals with anxiety and you're just like trying to find that way to take action, and one of those ways is to seek counsel, then I want you to do that. I'm going to talk about this now. I was going to talk about this at the end, but out in the lobby and probably in the bathrooms, because I'm the type of person who doesn't want to grab a counseling card in front of all of my friends, but I need to go pee. I'll say things like that. So these are also in the bathrooms, guys and girls. I think the guys' bathroom, I don't know. I don't go in there, but I had these cards made up, and these are really cool. I put most of the work in for you. These are all of the counselors that we love and trust here in the Athens area that are currently taking clients. And so if you feel like you need this card, go to the bathroom. Tell your friends you gotta go pee. Grab this card. And one of the last things I want to talk about is like just medication. I don't think we talk about medication from a stage ever. But for some of us, sometimes there's a chemical thing happening in our body, and we just cannot do the other things like pray or be thankful or change our thoughts because our body is just not letting us. That's my story. Like I feel like, I need medication. And so through talks with my counselor and like physician, I'm still like in this like back and forth trying to find the thing that works. Because it is like stage 4 cancer. So if you need to do that, talk to your doctor about it, talk to your counselor about it, talk to them about medication. I think that's all I'm gonna say about that. But guys, I am not, like I said, an expert in this process. I'm really bad at this process sometimes, but I have faith in this process. I have faith that when I pray honestly, when I find things to be thankful for, and when I change my thought, I have faith that this is what's gonna happen, that we are gonna find, it's supposed to happen when I point to the screen, but we're gonna find peace. Where's my slide? It's fine. But we're gonna find peace. Oh, there it is. That the Lord promises us peace. And I didn't know whether to ask this question or not, but do you feel peaceful? Like in Philippians 4, it talks about this peace that exceeds our understanding. Like this is peace that only the Lord can bring. And do you feel that? I can say when I don't do those 3 things, I do not feel that peace. I pretend that I feel the peace. I'm really good at like being happy in public. But when I am at home alone in those quiet moments, I don't feel that peace a lot of the times. And I know there's somebody, because I'm this person, I know there's someone in this room who's like, I've heard this before, yeah, whatever. Can we go back to that last slide with the 3 things? But I want to ask you, are you praying honestly? Are you actually being thankful in every circumstance? We sing this song. I love that we sing Jireh. So good. Like we sing these songs so confidently, but then do you actually, like, are you doing that? Are you being thankful? And are you changing the way you think about your circumstances? Are you actually content in every circumstance, I was going to sing it. So guys, please do these things. And I'm going to invite the band back up here. But I want to leave us with one question for you. And it's this: what do you need to do to keep moving forward in your Red Sea moments? What is that step that you need to take? I don't want anybody to leave here without taking a step, because this is that important. Pretend you have stage 4 cancer. Even in those tiny anxiety moments, like those situational anxiety moments. Because what happens when you don't deal with those tiny moments, they pile up, guys, and they will start oozing out of your life. So even in those tiny moments, what step do you need to take to keep moving forward in the Red Sea moments? I'm going to go back to the Red Sea because it's just so good. I'm sorry to my small group. But we had this really great conversation in my small group a couple of weeks ago. And I was like, have we thought about the guy in the back? You know what I mean? Like Joe or Bob or whatever his name is. The guy in the back who witnessed the Red Sea parting and saw all of his friends walking through it. And I don't think it took 10 minutes. I think it took maybe a couple of days to walk across the Red Sea because of the animals and the old people. But Bob in the back, what did his faith look like? Because I'm sure if I were Bob, I'd be like, that's about to collapse. They're all going to die. I'm just going to sit here. They're going to kill me, though. But I don't know. I think about Bob in the back and what it took him to take that step forward, to keep walking, watching all of his friends in front of him. And y'all, anxiety happens, and how you respond matters. But this is not something that will be fixed overnight. These tiny moments of anxiety won't be fixed overnight, and the big ones won't be fixed overnight. It is a constant decision to pray honestly, to be thankful, and to change your thoughts. So as the band comes, I'm just going to share the song that we're going to sing. There's a line in this song that says this. It says, "You split the sea so I could walk right through it. My fears are drowned in perfect love." Yeah, and there are moments when I sing this song and I don't believe it. I just don't. Sometimes I don't believe that Lord is going to split that sea. I don't feel it, And sometimes I don't believe that he's going to drown all of these fears that I have in his perfect love. But I'll tell you this, when I stand up and I just say the words, you split the sea so I could walk right through it. I am reminded that 2 years ago, I had that same feeling, I don't believe that you're going to do this, Lord. I don't believe that you can help me walk through this moment. But the Lord reminds me that he is so faithful to make a way through. And that way may not look like how we want it to, right? In all honesty, I ended up being in a mental institution for a week, and I was standing over here, and it hit me that I was in this mental institution, and then a month after that, we did Friendsgiving here. And I was like, gosh, guys, I did not see the Lord splitting the sea 2 years ago. But I'm so thankful he did. And I'm so thankful that I choose, not all the time, but most of the time, I choose to trust in that. Because if I didn't, I wouldn't be standing here right now. And honestly, I feel like some of the things that I've said have been jumbled, but I am confident that the Lord will take my jumbled words and make them perfect for the person who needs to hear them. So as we sing this song, I want you to think about, what is the step that I need to take? Do I need to find a counselor? Do I need to find these truth tellers to be a part of my life? It may be something as easy as I need to stop scrolling on Instagram, because that is bringing some anxiety that I actually don't need in my life. And my prayer is that when you all stand and sing these words, that you sing them with such confidence, that that you put all of your trust in the Lord, and then you lean on the fact that he will always make a way through your Red Sea. So I'm going to ask y'all to stand with me, and I'm going to pray over us. God, I'm just so thankful for tonight. I'm thankful for the students that have chosen to take time out of their Tuesday to come hang out with their friends and eat free food. And God, I just want to ask that in these moments of anxiety, when we feel like we are in between the impossible and the overwhelming, God, I just ask that you remind us that you parted the Red Sea, that nothing is too big for you. In these small moments that you parted the Red Sea, nothing is too small for you. And God, I just ask that for the person in the room who feels like there is no hope, God, I just ask that you just shine a light on that. Let them know that you're with them, that you are near, you are close, and that there is always hope. That nothing is too big or too overwhelming or too impossible for you because you parted the Red Sea. God, be with us in these next few moments together. Give us the courage to take a step forward. I pray all these things in your name. Amen.
You unravel me with a melody. You surround me with a song of deliverance from my enemies till all my fears are gone. I'm no longer a slave to fear. I am a child of God. I'm no longer a slave to fear. I am a child of God. Oh, yeah. From my mother's womb, you have chosen me. Love has called my name. I've been born again into your family. Your blood flows through my veins. Come on. I'm no longer a slave to fear. Oh, I am a child of God. I'm no longer a slave to fear. I am a child of God. And I'm no longer a slave to fear. No, I am a child of God. I'm no longer a slave to fear. Oh, I am a child of God. Oh, I am a child. Receive that identity tonight.